Verdant Heart's Echo. Elara lived in a sun-dappled village nestled by the Laughter Brook stream, a waterway famed for its constant, joyful gurgle that seemed to mirror the general disposition of its inhabitants. Her days unfolded like a series of gentle notes in a pastoral melody, the steady, comforting rhythm of her loom, its wooden frame well-worn from years of loving use, the rich, earthy fragrance rising from her compact herb garden. Each plant carefully tended with a reverence for its natural gifts, and the cheerful exchanges with neighbors over quaint, vine-covered fences adorned with vibrant morning glories that unfurled their delicate petals with the dawn. But amidst all the tranquil delights in her life, none held quite the same profound serenity, the same deep sense of belonging, as the moments spent beneath the sprawling, ancient willow that stood sentinel at the village's verdant edge. Its graceful, weeping branches descended towards the stream like a perpetual cascade of emerald ribbons, ever swaying, ever present. This was no ordinary willow, as anyone in the village would readily attest. It was universally known as the Verdant Heart, and local lore, passed down through generations around crackling hearths on long winter nights, claimed it held the deepest emotions, the unspoken thoughts, and the collective spirit of the entire village. Children, in their boundless curiosity and playful daring, would often press their ears against its rugged, deeply furrowed trunk, swearing they could discern faint, unidentifiable murmurs carried on the breeze. Elara, however, experienced a more profound, almost spiritual connection to the grand tree. To her, the Verdant Heart was more than just foliage and wood. It was a silent confidant, an unwavering guardian, a living library of communal feelings. One brisk, autumn morning, as the abundant foliage across the valley began its spectacular annual transformation into a breathtaking tapestry of fiery golds, passionate reds, and burnished bronzes, Elara made an intriguing discovery. Nestled securely within a natural hollow of the willow's ancient trunk, almost as if carefully placed by unseen hands, she found a tiny, intricately carved wooden bird. It was remarkably small, no larger than her thumb, and crafted from a species of wood she couldn't immediately identify. Its surface felt exquisitely smooth and surprisingly warm beneath her touch, radiating a gentle, almost living heat. Its eyes were two minuscule, perfectly polished amber beads, gleaming with an inner light, and its delicate wings appeared perpetually poised for immediate, joyous flight. A spark of keen, delightful curiosity ignited within her, spreading a warmth through her chest. Who could have placed such a precious, finely wrought item there? And what profound significance did it hold, tucked so carefully within the benevolent embrace of the Verdant Heart? She presented her fascinating find to her beloved grandmother, Lyra, a woman whose every smile line and wrinkle seemed to hold a treasure trove of stories, like the intricate creases in a cherished, lovingly preserved old map. Grandmother Lyra, with her perpetually kind eyes that seemed to see into the very soul, and an ever-present, knowing smile that bespoke years of wisdom and experience, gently turned the diminutive bird over in her remarkably agile, yet undeniably weathered hands. "Ah, the echoing wren," she murmured, a distant, thoughtful, almost dreamlike look entering her gaze, as if she were recalling memories from a distant past. My own grandmother, bless her memory, often recounted vivid tales of these mythical birds. They say it only manifests, only makes itself known, when someone in our village requires a very specific kind of assistance, not a task demanding brute strength or loud pronouncements, but one calling for a tender spirit, a truly empathetic heart, and, most importantly, a profoundly listening ear. Elara's heart gave a little flutter, a mix of apprehension at the unknown and a thrill of exciting anticipation. She was, indeed, widely known throughout the village for her tender spirit and compassionate nature, often being the first to offer solace or a kind word. But what specific form of aid could a tiny, delicate wooden bird possibly indicate? What grand challenge could lie before her? Lyra merely offered another of her enigmatic, reassuring smiles, her eyes twinkling mischievously. "The great willow, the Verdant Heart itself, will show you the way, dear one. You must just listen, truly listen, to its ancient, resonant heart. Over the course of the following days, Elara found herself increasingly, almost irresistibly, drawn to the majestic willow. She spent countless hours beneath its sweeping, protective boughs, diligently weaving intricate baskets from supple, freshly harvested reeds, her nimble fingers working deftly, all the while listening with an intensity she hadn't known she possessed. At first, it was merely the omnipresent, familiar sound of the wind sighing through the canopy, the soft, rhythmic rustle of the countless leaves, the distant, familiar calls of various birds flitting amongst the branches, and the ceaseless gurgle of the Laughter Brook stream. But gradually, almost imperceptibly, distinct and recurring patterns of sound began to emerge from the environmental cacophony, like individual threads slowly forming a tapestry. When the wind carried from the northern reaches of the valley, shifts within the village itself, little changes in the daily routines and demeanors of her neighbors. Old Master Thorn, the somewhat gruff, but undeniably benevolent and highly respected carpenter, had conspicuously ceased whistling his customary cheerful melodies as he worked, leaving an uncharacteristic silence in his bustling workshop. Young Pippa, usually perpetually adorned with mud from her adventurous, imaginative escapades by the stream, appeared noticeably subdued, her customary boundless energy seemingly diminished, like a brightly burning ember suddenly banked. Even the effervescent baker, kindly Mrs. Plum, whose laughter usually filled her bakery, bore a faint, almost imperceptible shadow in her usually bright, sparkling eyes as she diligently kneaded her dough, a weight she tried to hide. Elara slowly, but surely, came to the profound realization that the persistent sounds emanating from the verdant heart were not just random acoustic phenomena or figments of her imagination. They were, in fact, profound echoes of the villagers' unspoken emotions, their deepest anxieties, and their most heartfelt concerns. Clutching the smooth wooden bird, the echoing wren, its tiny amber eyes seeming to gaze with an unnerving yet patient understanding directly into her soul, Elara resolved, with a renewed sense of purpose, to follow these newly deciphered echoes. Her first destination, guided by the low hum, was Master Thorn's workshop. She found him meticulously smoothing a piece of unfinished oak, but his movements were noticeably slower, almost burdened with an unseen, heavy weight that bent his shoulders. "Good morning, Master Thorn," Elara began softly, her voice infused with genuine concern, a gentle balm. "Your usual song seems a little quiet today. Is all well? I hope you're not overworking yourself." Master Thorn looked up, visibly startled by her keen observation, his hand pausing mid-stroke. "My song? What strange talk, child." "Just an old man's weary bones acting up again, nothing more significant than that." But then his stern gaze, usually so focused on his craft, softened perceptibly, losing its guardedness. He sighed, a sound heavy with unspoken emotion. "Truth be told, Elara, I made a solemn vow to my beloved late wife, a promise I hold dearer than anything, to carve a very special cradle for our grandchild, who is expected next spring. It was her dearest wish. But my hands, they are simply not as steady, not as strong as they once were. I genuinely fear I won't complete it in time, won't fulfill her last wish, and the thought of failing her breaks my heart into 1,000 pieces." A single tear, glistening like a diamond in the workshop's dusty light, traced a path down his deeply lined, weathered cheek, a testament to his profound sorrow. Elara's heart went out to him, feeling a sharp pang of empathy that resonated deeply within her. "Master Thorn," she offered, her voice unwavering but gentle, "perhaps I could be of assistance. I am quite skilled with intricate weaving, a skill passed down through my family for generations. Perhaps I could weave the inner lining, the incredibly soft padding that will cushion the babe. That would surely spare your hands for the more demanding, intricate carving work that only you can do." A fragile spark of genuine hope, like a tiny ember catching flame, ignited in his tired, aged eyes. "You would do that, Elara? You would truly help an old man in his time of need? Oh, my dear girl, that would be an absolute blessing. More, far more, than you can ever truly know." As Elara diligently worked on the cradle lining, meticulously selecting the softest, purest wool from the village shepherd, and weaving delicate, comforting patterns that evoked dreams and warmth, the melancholic hum emanating from the north began to subtly lighten, transforming into a gentler, far more optimistic melody, like a forgotten song rediscovered. The wooden bird, the echoing wren, which she had carefully placed upon her loom, seemed to emit a faint, almost imperceptible glow, as if responding to the positive change. Next, Elara followed the faint, rhythmic tapping that led her to Pippa's small, charming cottage, adorned with climbing roses. She discovered the young girl sitting by the window, sadly gazing out at the flowing stream, her usual lively spirit absent. "Hello, Pippa," Elara said, her voice radiating warmth and concern, a comforting presence. "Why aren't you out playing today? The laughter brook surely misses your joyful presence, your happy splashes." Pippa mumbled, her voice barely audible, tinged with genuine sorrow. "My mother says I cannot play near the stream anymore. I accidentally lost her most treasured silver thimble, a family heirloom, when I was skipping stones yesterday. She isn't angry with me, not really, but she looks so terribly sad, and I just can't seem to find it anywhere, no matter how hard I search, and I've looked everywhere." Elara vividly recalled the willow's persistent echo, that small, repetitive worry that had tugged at her attention. "Tell me precisely where you were playing, Pippa," she encouraged, a plan already forming in her mind. "Perhaps if we search together, with two sets of eyes, we might have better luck. Sometimes things hide from a single gaze." Together, they carefully followed the meandering riverbank, Elara's sharp eyes meticulously scanning the waterline, her gaze unwavering. Pippa, spurred by the hope of Elara's help, excitedly pointed to the exact spot where she believed the thimble had vanished into the water. After a patient and thorough search, moments that stretched into what felt like an eternity, nestled securely between two exceptionally smooth river stones, glinting shyly in the sunlight, Elara spotted a tiny flash of silver. "Here it is, Pippa. We found it. Look." Pippa's face instantly illuminated, a radiant burst of pure happiness, and she let out a triumphant whoop of pure, unadulterated joy that echoed across the stream. She enveloped Elara in a tight, grateful hug, a spontaneous act of heartfelt thanks, before sprinting off, like a tiny whirlwind, to proudly show her mother her recovered treasure. As she ran, her feet barely touching the ground, the repetitive tapping echo from the willow completely dissipated, replaced by a joyful, energetic splash that resonated with youthful exuberance and carefree abandon. Finally, Elara turned her compassionate attention to Mrs. Plum, the village baker. The Verdant heart had transmitted a distinct, melancholic sigh from the western direction, precisely where the fragrant bakery stood, its inviting aroma usually drawing people from across the village. Elara found Mrs. Plum staring wistfully at a half-finished wedding cake, its multiple layers appearing decidedly less than festive, lacking the usual celebratory spirit. "Mrs. Plum, your delicious cakes are usually brimming with such cheer, such delightful artistry," Elara began gently, choosing her words carefully, aiming for comfort. "Is something, perhaps, troubling your usually bright spirit? You seem a little downcast." Mrs. Plum let out a profound sigh, a sound of deep weariness that seemed to carry the weight of her worries. "Oh, Elara, it's this incredibly important wedding cake. It's for young Lily and Tom, who, bless their kind hearts, don't have very much and deserve all the happiness in the world. I foolishly promised them the grandest, most elaborate cake of all, one adorned with dozens of the most delicate sugar flowers imaginable. But my old eyes aren't what they once were, not as sharp as they used to be, and my hands tremble uncontrollably these days. I honestly fear I'll completely ruin their incredibly special day, their once-in-a-lifetime moment, and that thought alone breaks my heart." Elara offered a reassuring smile, a beacon of hope in the bakery's quiet despair. "Sugar flowers, you say? Why, Mrs. Plum, I spent countless hours as a child making tiny, intricate shapes from clay, honing my skills. Perhaps I could assist you with the most delicate petals or the minuscule, detailed leaves." You can focus on the magnificent structure of the cake, the grand design, and I will gladly add the exquisite finishing touches, the tiny details that will make it truly special. Mrs. Plum's face visibly brightened, her eyes regaining some of their lost sparkle, a flicker of joy returning. "Oh, Elara, may the spirits bless your kind heart. That would truly be a godsend. I honestly don't know what I would do without your incredible help. It feels like a weight has been lifted." For the next several days, Elara diligently sat within the warm, wonderfully fragrant confines of the bakery, the air thick with the sweet scent of baking and sugar. She carefully shaped gossamer-thin sugar petals, meticulously painting them with vibrant, edible dyes and arranging them with an almost artistic precision, each flower a tiny work of art. As she worked, she could distinctly hear Mrs. Plum humming a happy, melodious tune once more, her own hands moving with a renewed confidence as she focused on the larger structural elements of the cake, her spirits visibly lifted. The melancholic sigh from the west gradually transformed into a sweet, utterly contented murmur, reminiscent of gently rising dough, a sound of peace and satisfaction. When the magnificent wedding cake was finally completed, it was an absolute masterpiece, truly blooming with hundreds of exquisitely crafted sugar flowers, each one a poignant testament to shared effort, genuine kindness, and unwavering dedication. Lily and Tom's wedding ceremony was an unadulterated joyous occasion, the breathtaking cake admired and praised by every single guest, a centerpiece of their celebration. As Elara leisurely walked home that tranquil evening, the little wooden bird, the echoing wren, safely nestled in her pocket, a comforting weight, she once again sought out the comforting, familiar embrace of the verdant heart. The echoes emanating from the ancient tree were markedly different now. No longer tinged with sadness, worry, or profound sighs, they had coalesced into a harmonious chorus of gentle hums, happy splashes, and deeply contented murmurs, all beautifully interwoven with the soft, soothing rustle of the willow's myriad leaves. A natural symphony of joy. She carefully took out the wooden bird and held it up, allowing the last, golden rays of the setting sun to catch it. Its amber eyes seemed to gleam with a newfound brilliance, almost as if reflecting the happiness it had helped inspire. Empathetically understanding and unhesitatingly offering a helping hand. And as the majestic moon ascended, casting its ethereal silver light upon the gently flowing Laughter Brook stream, Elara felt a deep, abiding, and quiet joy, a contentment that settled in her very bones, knowing that she had played a small but significant part in painting her beloved village's vibrant canvas with brighter, infinitely happier hues, enriching the lives of everyone around her, including her own, in a cycle of kindness that echoed with the gentle heart of the old willow. If you enjoyed my story, subscribe the channel and like this video. Thank you.